Some funny comments, though, after the game. Joe Kim Noah saying, not very Zen-like. He's right. We didn't play well, but it's not the end of the world. It's 1-1, and it's going to be a big Game 3 in Chicago. Before we get to Game 3, we'll look back on the fallout from Game 2. Stacey King, former Chicago Bull, Bulls announcer. Stacey joining us, Dan Patrick Show. What do we take away from Game 2's performance, Stace?
Well, that you knew that Miami was going to come out and play much more physical. After Game 1, especially LeBron. I thought in Game 1 he was more of a facilitator in that opening first half. I knew you'd probably see the LeBron that you saw in the fourth quarter of Game 1 to start the game, and that's what you saw. They were much more aggressive. And the Bulls will bounce back. We've seen some ugly games from the Bulls this year when they've had some tough losses.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out, what the method to the madness in Game 2. I know this is how the Bulls have to play, undermanned against the Miami Heat. But was there a defining point, a turning point in this game where all of a sudden it went from the Bulls are in the Miami Heat's head to maybe the Bulls were in the Bulls' heads?
Well, I think the officiating got to the Bulls last night. I thought they spent a little bit too much time worrying about the calls, worrying about the officiating, and bringing those plays on to the next play. If something didn't go right or they didn't get a call, they carried it on to the next possession, whether it had been offensively or defensively. And you can't do that, not in the playoffs. You just got to shake it off and just keep playing. You knew Miami was going to come out and be different. And if you look at the stats, Dan, Miami is not a very good rebounding team, but they out-rebounded the Bulls 41-28. Plus 13. The Bulls in Game 1 out-rebounded them 46-32. That's more of a normal situation for the Bulls, but they got outworked last night, and I thought they let the game get out of hand by worrying about the officiating.
Suspensions? Can you see maybe Joe Kim Noah leaving the bench, going onto the floor, or maybe just a fine?
I think it's a fine. I don't think. This is this is a game that has a lot at stake. A lot of emotions. These two teams have had a history. I understand the officials yesterday trying to get control of it. I kind of thought that they let it get out of hand. I thought a lot, excessive technicals.
Yeah, but I thought Thibodeau said after the game, I'm not going to blame the officials. He was blaming his players that they seem to get out of their game.
Yeah, the players have to be accountable for it. But at the end of the day, you've got to play basketball. You can't worry about the officials. But I thought they let the officiating get to them. And it's very rare that you see the Bulls players, get in that type of situation. They're a tough-minded team. And to see that last night, I thought that was the turning point in that second quarter. Then Miami went on that 13-2 run, and that kind of opened up the floodgates.
We move to Game 3 now. And the speculation of Derrick Rose. More likely, less likely to play from what happened in Game 2?
You know what? It's a tough call. I keep hearing all these rumors, and until you actually see it, you really can't believe it. But the word is now that he's going to dress and he's going to sit on the bench. He may not play, but he'll sit on the bench. But I look at it, if that is the case, and that's what he's going to do, he should just play. You might as well stay in the suit if you're not going to play. But having Derrick Rose on the floor, 20 minutes. Kind of changes things a little bit because the minutes that you're giving the rookie Marcus Teague, who's going to be a very good player, but he hasn't played a lot this year. With Derrick out on the floor, it presents a little bit of a problem. Even though he's not the Derrick of the MVP before he got hurt, it requires Miami to have to game plan for him. It requires Miami to have to pay attention to him because he's still a threat. He could demand a double team even at 80%, and that opens up the floor for other people. So. And then also to give Nate Robinson a rest because he's playing a lot of minutes and there's not really anybody behind him with Heinrich being out to give him a rest.
Whose call is this on Derrick Rose?
Well, it's Derrick's call. Derrick's going to be the one. He's been cleared to play, and the doctors have given him, the okay to play. The Bulls are leaving it up to Derrick Rose when he feels comfortable to play. And I know just watching him and being around him, he wants to be out there. But right now, I think a lot of it's mental, more than physical. And I think he's mentally, I think he's concerned a little bit because he's not. You hear him talk. If I'm not, 100% or 105%, so you can tell it's a little bit more mental. He's got to get over that. But whether he comes back or not, I mean, this team has to come out and limit turnovers. They can't allow Miami to get out and run. Miami is one of the best teams in the open court. I mean, they got two of the best players on the planet on the same team. And those guys are like having, Darrell Revis on one side and the other one side, Darrell Revis' twin brother. They get out and play the passing lanes better than anybody. So they can't turn the ball over. They've got to be a little bit more efficient in their offense.
What about the offseason? Let's say Derrick Rose doesn't play. What's the offseason going to be like with speculation and that whole mental game that he's playing inside his head?
Well, he's going to have to shake it. I mean, he's going to have to play. He's going to have to get out, if I'm the Bulls, I'm even probably telling him to go play a couple of games in the summer league, just to get his confidence going again and let him get out there in physical contact, because even though he's allowed to practice, he really hasn't had the type of practices that you have in the early season. The NBA game. There's not a lot of practice time in the second half of the season, so he really doesn't get a lot of 5-on-5 situations this year. So if he's going to sit out the whole year, and the Clippers did that with Blake Griffin. When he hurt his patella tendon, they just shut him down for the whole year, and you saw what happened when he came back. So if Derrick gets shut down for the year, I expect Derrick Rose to be ready for training camp and be ready to go at 100%. And be over all the things that, the mental hangups of that knee injury.
I've sided with him, probably 90% of the time through all of this. But if you're not going to play, then just shut it down. Don't leave it open to speculation, because you're doing a disservice really to everybody. I don't think the Miami Heat are spending hours going, well, if Derrick Rose plays. If they spend 5 minutes, okay. But if you say I'm not playing, then your teammates aren't expecting you. Or the media doesn't read into this. He's added to this, and he could have subtracted from it to make it a little bit better.
Well, I agree with you on that. I mean, I think if you honestly felt like you couldn't play, I know he wants to play, but it's one thing wanting to play and then going out there and playing. So, maybe had he came out earlier and just said, hey, we're shutting it down, in March when he first came back, when he was at 80%, maybe that would have been a time for him to say, it's just not going to happen this year. I'm just going to wait till next season. And I think people would have respected that. But as you said, the constant, it's like as the world turns on a soap opera. You keep hearing this, oh, he's going to shut it down. Then next minute, oh, he's going to come back.
But Stacey, what changes from one day to the next? That's the thing. Is it that tenuous? Like all of a sudden the light goes on, or I'm going to now I feel better. If you do it and you say, look, I can't play, shutting it down. And fine, you've made a decision. Now you get this feeling of he may wake up one day and be in a good mood and feel confident to go out and play. And it just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah, you know what, though, Dan? That's the mind of a 23, 24-year-old. I mean, it's just, everything changes. You just don't know what is going on, inside his head. I mean, no one knows. I mean, like you said, he could wake up today and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to practice. I'm going to go practice today, and I'm going to play, on Friday. So you just don't know. But, at the end of the day, this team has to prepare as if he's not going to play. I mean, they can't sit around here and say, oh, is he going to play on Friday? Is he going to play in Game 4? They have to play. They've been playing all year without him, and they've done a great job. No one even thought that they would even get this far. So they've got to prepare to play without him. The one guy that they've got to get back is Luol Deng. I mean, that's the guy they got to be hoping is going to be coming through that door this weekend, is that he comes back healthy and he's ready to go, because they really, really miss him. And they missed him yesterday especially, because it takes pressure off of Jimmy Butler. They're asking Jimmy Butler to defend Dwayne Wade, to defend, LeBron James. I mean, he has to guard everybody. And so having Luol Deng back to give him an offensive punch and then also be able to play defense, Luol's one of the better defenders in the league at the small forward position, and that will help.
Good to visit with you, Stace. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, DP.
All right, Stacey King, Bulls analyst, former Chicago Bull.